I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, July the 26th, brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards, where they're expecting around 6,500 head for their regular Monday sale here today in Joplin. That's a lot lighter than what they've had the last several sales because they've been having those big summer yearling specials, but they're going to have several yearlings there today also, and several calves moving off some of those fescue pastures. But look down the road at the schedule of events at Joplin Regional Stockyards. You see they got a special cow and bull sale coming up Wednesday, August the 3rd. Now they've been having pretty good cow and bull sales there on the specials this summer. Starts at 4:30 in the afternoon. If you've got some you need to sell because you're getting dry where you're at or what have you, get a hold of them, consign your bred cows for that special afternoon sales. Also the next day, on Thursday the 4th, going to have another primetime livestock video there in the barn at Joplin Regional Stockyard. So get a hold of them for all your cattle marketing needs there at Joplin. Cattle head counts only down 2%. Is that really right? We had your mid-year inventory report on cattle come out on Friday there. It's not a big report. In fact, there was a few times, at least once that I remember of, that they didn't even do it whenever they were shutting the government down and things like that. That was one thing that they thought that they could do without, but they still have it, and they still collect the numbers similar to the way they do the one that comes out at the beginning of the year. But it's just unbelievable how long it takes the government in these NASH reports to adjust things. It's kind of like the way the guy, the electric guy, figures your bill. He doesn't come out and check the meter every month necessarily. He kind of extrapolates off what you used the previous month, and I think the models are broken that USDA NASS has been using. We don't feel like the cattle on feed reports jibe. We don't feel like these inventory reports jibe, and they're way behind all the time. So they're going to tell us that total cattle and calves down 2%. Beef cow numbers, total inventory sitting at 30.4 million head is down 2%. Now I think there's less cows than that out there, and I think it's down a whole lot more than that. And that goes back not to the beginning of the year, but back a whole year. And if you think about the things that have happened in the last year, so you remember how dry it was up in the northern plains, and they held on as long as they could, but especially late in the summer and in the fall in the northern plains. We saw, and I'm talking about western South Dakota, eastern Montana, places like that. They were selling off a lot of bred stock there, a lot of cows going to slaughter. Our slaughter market has been very good, not just for the last few months until up here the last couple of weeks, when the sheer numbers in Texas have really brought it down back to reality. But our cow market, slaughter cow market, has been very good basically for the last year. And one reason for that is because on the other side of the globe, in Australia, New Zealand, places like that, they were running so short from a lifetime drought there that they were short of those brush-fed cattle. Well, the globe needed cattle, just not necessarily sweet meat, grain-fed steers and heifers. They just needed some kind of beef of some kind, and so we had an excellent demand for cow meat. So it's been very good. Well, we were selling off those cows up in the northern plains like crazy. They were still bringing a pretty good price, but we were selling huge numbers of them. You remember my buddy Justin Tupper up there at his sale barn there in western South Dakota. And you remember all those sales up there, Miles City stockyards up there in eastern Montana. It's just unbelievable how many they were moving, cows were moving, and the large part of them, because nobody else had any place to put them, were going to slaughter. Then, now what has been happening the first part of this year, a calendar year? We've seen the same thing in Texas, and not just in Texas, in other areas too. It's horrible dry parts of Arkansas. It's getting dry up there in many parts of Oklahoma. It was being horrible dry and was in places like New Mexico, and just we've just seen a lot of cows sold off, and we know that. But we see your year-to-date beef cow slaughter, year-to-date. So that's just the last 6 months or so. So that's 2.1 million head in the year-to-date in the last 6 months. Okay, and then we look. We see that your beef cow slaughter year-to-date is 14% more than a year ago. It is 27% larger than your 5-year average. Okay, those are the only numbers that we have really for truth, set in stone, that you can get a hold of, because they count those every time they slaughter one of them, and they have to report it to USDA. So those are the only numbers of all these numbers they put out. Cattle on feed, inventory reports. Our slaughter numbers are the only ones that are really true. I mean, they can talk about volume going through sale barns. They don't even report none of the sale barns in Central Texas anymore, so you can't get a grip on that. So the slaughter numbers are the only ones that are true, and they say that our beef cow slaughter is up 14% over a year ago and up 27% over the 5-year average. We've sold off all the cows. We've culled so deep in the northern plains. We've sold off all the cows in Texas. We've just been cutting them, and we're only down 2%. Really? We've had thousands of cattle die from the heat in the feedlots. I'm not saying that was a major deal, but we've had a lot of sell-off and a lot of slaughtered cattle, and our total numbers are only down 2%. Wow. On that inventory report, of course, it reports all different classes of cattle. The biggest drop it had was 3% lighter than the year ago figures, and that was on beef replacements, which we figured that would be a bunch, but I think that's that may be more than what we're quoting there, because we've seen a lot of heifers go to slaughter, and it doesn't seem like anybody's keeping a lot back because it's been too dry for most guys. And we also saw a 3% drop in the head counts of calves weighing under 500 pounds. Well, we believe that, but we think it could be even more than that. But not only did we have to swallow that report, we also had the cattle on feed report, which was actually just what I was afraid of, and I told you guys on the last visit. I'm not saying I told you so by any means, but I was afraid that they had your placement figures for June dialed back way too much on your average of the analyst guess. In your cattle on feed report, it didn't really matter what the numbers are. This just matters what the percentages are in comparison to what your industry analysts had come up with. And it's a little bit bearish. It's not good. We saw that your industry analysts had your cattle on feed for the 1st of July estimated average of 100.1%. Well, it come out a little bit larger than that because of the placements, but come out to 100.5%. I'm not saying that's the number that's really bearish, but on your placements, your average analyst guess was 94.7. That's placements during June of feeder cattle and calves. Well, that includes all them calves that was selling down in Texas and in central parts where it was really dry. That was going on in June too, guys. Not just the 2 weeks after 4th of July. But 94.7 was what they guessed, and we come out at 97.5. Ouch. And that's going to be pretty bearish. And your marketings come in just about where we thought. They had guessed 102 and they come out 101.9, which is pretty close to the average. But it just kind of puts a negative bearish feel over the market. You know, the inventory report wasn't as drastic as what we thought, but when they have those models set up, it takes a whole lot to run them off average or 100%. So bringing it down 2% might be quite a bit, but I don't think it's nearly enough. And then we're going to see our grains likely go up. Over the weekend, we thought finally there was going to be some kind of a deal between Ukraine and Russia where they could start exporting some of that grain out of there, and it was kind of put a positive face, if you could, on Russia, which I don't know how you could, but getting some grain to those places that are starving and really need that grain and rely on it. They signed a deal on that, and within just a few hours after signing the deal, Russia starts bombing the main port there in Odessa that they were talking about doing the exporting out of. So I would assume that your grains are going to be up. Not only that, but also because of that damn heat dome that's been over the whole central part of the U.S. for the biggest part of 2 weeks and completely dried everything out. I think your grains probably should be a little higher, and so they're probably going to be up to start the week here. And I would assume that your cattle futures are going to be down big. So I'm not hoping that's what's going to happen. It's just what I think is probably going to happen. And then by Tuesday or Wednesday, we're probably going to flip everything all the way back around again. But let's talk about your futures market, your August live cattle futures for last week. Monday was up 70 cents. Tuesday was up a dime. Wednesday was up 2 cents. Thursday was down 2 cents. Hardly any open interest in your live cattle pits. Nobody trading them. No longs left. It's broke. Nobody has any confidence in it. Friday was back up $1.65 for some reason or another. And so your August live cattle contract ended the week at 137.37, up 245 for the week, largely because of the big gains on Friday. October live cattle ended the week at 143 even. That was up 345. Now feeder cattle, of course, they're traded a lot lighter than what your live cattle are. They're probably one of the lightest traded commodity markets that they have. August feeder cattle, Monday was up 32 cents. Tuesday was up 207. Wednesday down 92. Thursday up 45. And Friday up big, up 327 because grains were down quite a bit on Friday again. With August feeder cattle ending the week at 181.55. That's about an $11 premium to what our indexes are for right now. And that's the August contract. And we know the later we get in the year, they're going to go up. But I don't see them going up $11 or $12 in 3 weeks. But August feeder cattle ended the week at 181.55, up 520. September ended the week at 184.47, up 480. Wow. Now look at your grains. We talked about them being down. We talked about what I think is going to happen here to start the week and why. But corn, December new crop corn ended the week at 5.64 1/4 a bushel. That was down 39.5 cents. Woo! Now that's getting kind of back in our realm of thinking here after all the experts were telling us we were going to have $10 a bushel corn at harvest, and it's sure not going to happen. Or it doesn't look like that anyway. Beans, November new crop, 13.15 3/4 a bushel, down 26.5 for the week. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September, and it's been very disappointing for those that actually had a crop, but if they didn't sell it back when it was over $12 a bushel, they ought to have their head examined. But on Friday ended the week at 8.20 1/4 a bushel, down 17 1/4 for the week. Let's talk about your fat cattle trade. Through Thursday of last week, less than 50,000 head are traded in your 5-area feeding region. That's ridiculous. As you guys know that I'm fighting for more trade. I did spend the weekend in Arizona, in Prescott, Arizona, and I did have an enjoyable time out there. Did have some spirited debate, but civil debate on Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act with President of NCBA, Don Schiefelbein, who I like. We have a very difference of opinion on this one issue, not so much many others, but on this one issue. Ethan Lane was also there, so I was outnumbered a little bit, and most of the Arizona cattle growers that were there for the convention, I felt like most of them didn't really have a stance, and a lot of them didn't really know exactly what the bill was about and things like that. But some of them did, but they had an open mind, and we had quite a bit of debate there, about as much as I've had at any one of these big meetings, and I've had a lot of them in the last year or two or three since we've been pushing on this, along with my friends at U.S. Cattlemen's Association. So I'm not sure what we got done there, but we were there and we did it. But I was glad that they asked me to come speak, and they were willing to listen to my point of view. But like I said, your fat cattle trade up through Thursday, less than 50,000 head. We used to trade 100,000 in all 5 areas every week. Now it's less than 50,000 in the entire area up through Thursday, and we didn't trade hardly nothing on Friday. But live sales of steers and heifers last week up through Thursday in your 5 area, 133.5 to 146.5. That was from 50 cents to 250 lower on the price spread there. The Southern Plains traded the lower end, of course, from 133.5 to 136. And then a $3 gap from Northern Plains selling from 139 to 143. Was one deal in Northern Kansas that traded at 139, but it was 2 northern plants there. So you kind of throw that in with them. But largely your market in the Southern Plains is 136. Northern Plains 142. Your weighted average in your 5 area feeding region, which is the coattail that the Southern Plains guys like to hang on if they can get their formula sweetheart deal to base off of the 5 area, that was 140.65 up through Thursday. And that was about $1.50 lower than the same period last week, but it won't change much from there, because we didn't have much change on Friday, but we'll get the total roundup on our next visit. But dress sales, 225 to 232, that's steady to $1 lower, but your weighted average was more lower than that. It was nearly $2 lower, with dress steers weighted average at 227.51. Friday's trade, of course, Colorado's back to Colorado Confidential. Don't get to see anything of that. We noticed they've got the best grading cattle in the 5 area and can't get a third packer to come in there and bid on them. Iowa, 1,100 head confirmed on Friday, less than 14,000 in Iowa. We never see that. They always trade 20-some thousand, and they've put their boots down because they feel like the packers need the cattle, and the packers do need the cattle, but they're just pulling contracts and pulling formula deals and trying to get by on them. Iowa's having a standoff with them because they don't want to give up the market, but sold some Friday from 140 to 145, and dress sales from 227 to 230. Nebraska did not trade a hoof on Friday, confirmed about 24,000 for the week, which is light for them, but more normal for them. Kansas, 1,600 on Friday, only 6,100 head of finished fed cattle sell out of your Kansas feedlots. That is ridiculous. That is nothing for them. It was all at 136. Texas, no sales on Friday, 8,400 head for the week, but they had 4,600 head in one whack on Tuesday, which started the low market at 136. Box beef cutout values were higher for the week. Weighted average on all of last week's sales, choice cuts 269.70. That was $1.43 higher than the weighted average from the previous week. Your late Friday sales were lower than that weighted average, though. It was lower later in the week. Selects, your weighted average on all of last week's sales, 242.33. That was 31 cents higher than the previous week's weighted average, and that was pretty much where your late Friday sales were at on choice at 242.5. You got a choice select spread on the weighted average of just over $27, which is pretty huge. And pretty meager sales, 517 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. And I've been trying to get through you guys' head that the market that they give us on box beef cutout values is even more watered down and shallow than what we see cash trade in your fat cattle. that is nothing compared to what they're trading. They're doing it all with contracts, far out front deals, formulas, and things like that. They really don't want us to know what's going on. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. For late last week, your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at 169.77. That was down $1.91 compared to the end of the previous week. Don't forget, here on Monday at noon Central, Montgomery Stockyards is having their board sale, and it's on DV auction. You can view and bid that sale right there. Get a hold of them at Montgomery Stockyards if you're interested in bidding online there. But they are going to be taking those, and they'll have some good yearlings on there. They've even got some calf deals on there too. Your sales last week were kind of uneven. You know, we'd had some big specials right after the 4th of July. We were coming off that. Some sales were kind of getting back to normal. Some sales were running light receipts. It was just kind of an up and down deal, but like I said, your real-time index was just under $2 lower, and that's kind of the way your markets were, from steady to $2 or $3 lower. Your feeder cattle buyers, those that are buying the green grass yearlings, are starting to get more particular as to quality. Maybe back 3 weeks ago, we were seeing your plainer put together, crossed up quite a bit cattle selling right up there with the best blacks, getting to be quite a spread on them now. But they're still selling well, especially up in the northern plains and anywhere that you have some farmer feeders that are interested, because they know that they're going to walk part of that to town, and they can't get any equipment bought, so they're going to spend money on cattle to keep from paying taxes on their operation there. But some late week sales, Eastern Missouri Commission Company in Bowling Green, Missouri. That's on the very right there. You can throw a rock to Illinois. 56 head, 774 pound steers, bring 181.50. Bloomington, Wisconsin Livestock Exchange. My friends there got a really good sale. Sell a lot of dairy cattle, but they sell a lot of colored cattle really well too, like they did on Friday there. 62 head of 842 pound steers in Bloomington, Wisconsin, bring 182.50. But your Zoetta stick-out sale of the day late last week was Lexington Livestock Market in Lexington, Nebraska, and they had our National Beef Wire top quote for the day was 179 head of steers, weighed 920 at 178.10. That's your feeder flash for Monday.